Growth is like the Holy Grail. Everybody wants it, and we should. Every organization, every business, every ministry is looking for growth, and we should expect it. It should be a natural outcome of our activities. It's a sign of health. But what about rapid, dramatic growth? Is it always a good thing? We'll look at a very specific real-world example. Now, the simple answer is that we prepare for that eventuality, that we're strengthening the foundation, we're reinforcing the infrastructure to support growth. And that should be part of our normal, ongoing efforts, that we would not just look for and expect growth, but we would prepare for it. But there's an aspect of growth that we don't discuss, and that's culture. And understanding why are they there? Why is that growth there? And how does their agenda, how do their desires align with our mission, our purpose? And this is the same whether it's business, ministry, regardless of our focus of our organization. Why is that growth there? And is that growth productive, helpful, or is it a challenge? And if it's a challenge, how do we recognize that? And how do we adjust to try to facilitate that, to accommodate that? It comes back to culture, recognizing every organization has a culture. And it's a great idea to have a team whose focus is reinforcing, strengthening, and projecting that culture. Again, whether it's a business or a ministry, because we'll see some examples. But looking back at why is that growth there? What is their agenda? What is it they're looking for? Now, is that growth, are they eager disciples? Apple, Ferrari, both are companies with dedicated disciples. And when they come out with a new product, it's all but guaranteed to succeed because you have eager disciples that want whatever it is they have to offer. That's the easy kind. Once you get to that place, it's just about continuing to manage and cultivate that culture that facilitates those eager disciples. Or are they eager but undeveloped? That they are passionate about the message, what they're learning, the culture, whatever it may be. And this is, again, business or ministry. Are they passionate, but there's a maturity process? A great example, again, is ministry. They're excited about what they're learning, but there's a process of maturing that needs to happen. And these are both great growth groups to work with. But what happens when that growth isn't there because they're passionate about what you have to offer? Now, this happens in business when we get them because it's a necessity or that it's a bargain, it's a sale, whatever it is. We need to recognize that in that case, we need to work to ensure that they succeed with our product or service. Do what we can to convert them to disciples, not just accept that growth as success in itself, but recognize it's only opening the door. But what happens when that growth is not necessarily aligned with your purpose, your mission, but they're completely out of necessity? Are there times when growth actually is a negative? So back to this real world example. In this, we will remain anonymous, but this is a well-established Christian school with a fantastic reputation. Multiple generations have gone to this school. It's got a fantastic foundation. But circumstances, lockdown, different agendas, COVID, etc., has caused it to, in a very short period of time, to explode at the seams. Now, this sounds like a nice problem to have, but is it? That they have gone from having a solid tuition base, a solid enrollment, to literally a multi-year waiting list. Now, again, superficially, that sounds like a great problem to have. But the challenge is that enrollment, that waiting list, isn't filled with people who are passionate about their agenda, about their purpose, but rather they're out of necessity. And so what happens? They are finding themselves in a situation that rather than influencing those converts, those that are coming in, what we're seeing is their culture is being influenced. It's being watered down. And while we want to see them succeed, it does bring to us, it highlights that need to understand why is we should always look at growth. Why are they there? What is it they're looking for? How does it align with our mission? And how do we develop them to more understand and embrace our mission? And again, this is whether it's business or a ministry. Or are there cases where, frankly, growth is not always a positive, that they will not necessarily come into alignment? Now back to the school. It's easy to fall into the missionary mentality that we're trying to influence them through their education. And unfortunately, what we've seen is because of this massive influx, rather than ones and twos, this massive influx has actually, unfortunately, impacted our culture. Ultimately, while we look for growth, not only can too much growth not necessarily be a good thing, but the wrong kind of growth. And it highlights the need for us to look at the growth we're getting and to evaluate what kind of growth is it? How does it ultimately facilitate our long-term success? And how do we facilitate their success with our mission? What do we need to do besides a strong foundation, besides a great infrastructure, besides a core of culture? How do we help them come into alignment so they can succeed? Understanding the motivation and the desires, the agenda behind growth is important for our long-term strength, stability, and health. But it also highlights the power of no. Now, most organizations hate even the idea of no, that they will accept growth at any cost and they'll find ways to justify it. But no is a powerful tool. It's just a matter of when and where to apply it. That no can create a greater perceived value, that the doors are not just open to everyone. It creates a greater expectation of exclusivity, and all of that facilitates a greater compliance of coming into alignment with the mission and the purpose of our business or ministry. Growth is important. Growth should be a desire and an expectation. But recognize that it should come on our terms and in a way that aligns with our mission and purpose. And ultimately, we really must understand what is driving growth to understand how it fits.